right, so we are going to move on from our exponential functions. Remember, an exponential function is y equals a times b to the x. That's an exponential function. That means that x is the exponent always. X is not on, like it's not a linear equation or quadratic. It is in the exponent. A represented your initial amount, what you start with. And B is your growth factor. Now, there's two different kinds of growth. You can positively grow or negatively grow. So we've already dealt with the positive growth factor, meaning we increased, and B was when it was a positive growth factor, positive growth, it was 1 plus R, which was your interest rate as a decimal. The connection here, if we're talking about exponential decay, it can be modeled by y equals a times b to the x, where a is bigger than 0. B lies between 0 and 1. Now somebody made the connection, we knew it was exponential growth when that b was a decimal, if you recall from Friday. And that decimal means that it is less than 1. And it's a decay factor, which is 1 minus the percent. So here B, there's your little formula in colored form, but probably not on your paper. A is the initial amount, B is still your growth factor, but instead it's really now a decay factor. So you go 1 minus R instead of 1 plus R. And R has to be in decimal form. So growth factor is 1 plus. Maybe we'll just even write that on the left-hand side. Growth factor is 1 plus R. Decay factor is 1 take away the interest rate. Because 1 just means 100%, all of it. It just represents the whole, the 1 does. So growth means your whole plus whatever you grow. Decay means your whole take away whatever you're decaying or decreasing by. Okay, here is a nice example. A family buys a car for $20,000. The value of the car decreases about 20% each year. After 6th year, the family decides that they're going to sell the car. Should they sell it for $4,000? So we want to know what is the car worth right now. So I'm going to go ahead and write, I know it's a exponential function. I know it's exponential because it's a percent each year. That means it's an exponential function. So I need my initial. What's the initial amount of my car? 20,000. 20,000 is the initial amount of the car the family got. And B is your decay factor here because it's a decreasing its value. So B is going to equal 1 take away, what's the percent that it's decreasing?
4,000.
No, percent. 20%. So 1 take away 0.2, which is 0.8, right? 0.8 or 0.80. So it's going to be times 0.80, I don't care, or 0.8 to the x. That's the equation. Remember, B is always either 1 plus the rate or 1 minus the rate. That's always going to be B. Okay, so now I just plug it in to see what happens after 6 years. So 20,000 times 0.80 to the 6. And I want to see how much a car is worth and see they should, if they sell it for 4,000, they should be making some kind of profit or breaking even. So we want to make sure that it's worth that much. So 20,000 times 0.80 to the 6th power is 5242.88. Do you think they should sell their car for $4,000?
No.
No, why? Yeah, because they're losing money. No, comma, they will lose money.
We have to put comma.
Well, I want you to make sure to include your reasoning that supports your math
Yeah, I know.
processing skills. The comma, I don't care if you put the comma. No, they will lose money because it's worth $52.42 because it's worth.
More.
There you go. You can be Brad there. I'm just going to be a little more specific
More money is.
because it's worth. No,
More money is.
there we go. Got it. Now I wonder what else I want to teach you today. Don't you wonder? Let's flip this page. This is nice because this just kind of breaks down into connecting the exponential decay to your exponential growth and just analyzing those equations. Remember, here's the form. Y equals A times B to the x. That's an exponential function. A is your initial. If B is bigger than 1, it means that it's growing. If B is a positive fraction, it means that it's decaying, or decimal. So if B is a fraction or decimal, it is decaying.
Shouldn't be.
Also known, the thing is, this is the rule. I mean, you don't want to say as long as it's less than 1 because it shouldn't be negative. It should be between 0 and 1. So it should be some kind of positive decimal or fraction. That's 0 then 1. Okay, so let's just apply that. The first fraction, or not fraction, it's the first exponential function, is y equals 3 times 2 to the x. Is this a exponential growth or decay?
Growth.
Growth. Yep, it's growth because my b is bigger than 1. What's the initial amount here? 3. And what's my growth factor? Yep. That's all. I mean, you got that in your homework today. It's not bad at all.
Oh, that's easy.
Okay, my next one. Y equals 3 times 0.4 to the x. Is it growth or decay? Is it growth or decay? Growth means bigger than 1. This is a decay because it's a decimal. So that means this graph is going to look like this. This means the graph is going to look like that.
I know.
The initial amount is 3 and the decay factor is 0.4. Or you could have 0.4, I don't care. Whatever you want. Okay, the next one. Is this exponential growth or exponential decay?
Growth?
No.
Decay. I knew
Decay,
that.
because it's less than 1.
Yeah, I knew
So this is a decay. So that means the graph would look like that. And the initial amount is 4.
I knew that.
And the decay factor is whatever is raised to that x power, 3 over 4. If I were to punch it in my calculator, just a heads up, I would turn that to 0.75. Because that would be really hard to punch in your calculator. Once you have that fraction button. Okay. What's this next one?
Decay.
Decay.
Was I right?
Yep.
It's like BK.
It's decay. And what's the initial amount, Ethan?
2.
What's the growth or decay factor?
1/3.
1/3. You know how I punch that in my calculator? I would just be a little dramatic with the 0.3s. So I would just put a whole bunch of 3s. I would go 0.333 and I'd punch it in as many times as I see fit, more than 3. Okay?
64.
Yeah, that sounds good.
This is growth.
Sounds like a waste of your time, though. You could have probably gotten a lot more problems done. What about the next one? James, is this exponential growth or decay? This next one right here. Growth or decay? Decay means that this is less than 1. So it is a growth, and the initial amount is 100. The growth factor is 2. Remember, if whatever is raised to the x power is bigger than 1, it's growth. If it's in between 0 and 1, it's decay. Okay? What about this next one?
Growth.
Yep, it's growth because I'm not looking at this -4. I'm looking what's raised to that x power, 5. So it's growth. The initial amount is -4, and the growth factor is 5. Do you think you've had enough yet? Ooh, no, because this is a tricky one. What's this one?
Grow.
It's decay.
That's what I meant.
What's the initial? Yeah, -1 it is. And what is my growth factor? Decay factor, just kidding. 1/4. Or 0.25 I would put into my calculator. And what's the next one? Growth.
3 and then a point 1.04.
3. 1.04 is the growth factor. That's it. You've done everything you need to do for the section.